Welcome to RedPillDiaries. I wanted to expand upon a video I did the other day on our possible realities. So, the one I'm going to look at is the simulation theory. And this is more for people who may not grasp it properly. You may look around and see things, for example. By the way, I don't believe that's I'm more convinced about globe Earth than any other theory. I'm also convinced it's a globe Earth with technologies, and it doesn't just mean technologies that we think of like a disc player or whatever it might be, or a GPS device. Other technologies, you know what I mean, like technologies in your body, genetic technology, technologies that are kind of otherworldly, tapping into maybe other dimensions, all sorts of stuff. I believe that is more likely. Again, I don't believe that. I don't believe any one thing, because we just do not know the answers, right? Anyway, so to go into simulation theory, if you see things around you like a fly flying, I just saw a fox dead on the road back there, and I had to stop. To someone who was going to poo-poo that theory, they would think, well, look, why would that happen? But to understand why something like that would happen in a simulation theory, and even feeling, why would you feel something? Why would you have aches and pains in certain parts of the body? So in video games, you have these random elements that happen, right? So let's say, for example, you have random elements being bottles. Like the first time I seen bottles was in the game Duke Nukem, right? You could smash them as well. You could take a leak in the toilet. Random elements, you see. Those, those are elements. Sorry. A random element would be making that, I can't remember the word, but to make that element appear, manifest that element, but to manifest that element on a random basis. So for example, say there was 1,000 elements, you have something running constantly that says, boom, start element, flies buzzing around. And then there's flies buzzing around, how many are going to have? Randomness, let's make them 5. And then of those 5, what are each one of them going to do? Well, here's a random fly pattern for this one, random fly pattern for that one. So then it seems like those things are very unique and unlikely to have been created in a simulation. And that's exactly what would be required if you were to make something believable. So take, for example, I hope this video doesn't get screwed up like my other ones, because the better ones seem to, and when I've got a train of thought, that's when I mean better ones, I mean my train of thought is there. So right now, if you look at VR, well, you look at movies, for example, like Lord of the Rings and the later Star Wars releases, where things actually look more obviously faked than the videos that they had years ago in the 70s. I think 77, the year I was born, is when these, oh no, I'll give my birthday away, is the year when Star Wars came out, I'm almost certain. And I actually ended up working for Watford Borough Council later on, and that's where they filmed the theatre thing next to there, is where they filmed did some of the Star Wars work for the original movie. I don't know if it was the graphics or the sound, but anyway, that whole area is where Harry Potter is, the Hertfordshire area. Anyway, back to my point again. The aim of Oculus Rift and all these other things that are VR and augmented reality are to make things as believable as possible. So the end goal is where you'd be plugged into a machine, like in the Matrix, or like the comedy show Red Dwarf, that was far, far before the Matrix. And the guy's sitting there like this, and he's got a groinal attachment on, making the most out of his virtual reality machine. Very good comedy show. You've got to watch it if you haven't seen it before. Red Dwarf, a UK TV series, a couple of American actors in it. Really good. The American spin-off was garbage and never went anywhere. But anyway, the point being that if you can see where those VR games are heading, and how even over the years, how things like Call of Duty have moved on, and they use different gaming engines to give more realism. You can see exactly how people would come up with this theory in the first place, and people who have a far-reaching mind as far as projecting what the future might hold, like Philip K. Dick, for example, they could conceptualize things long before they came around, which is why we see these concepts in Star Trek years ago, because it's obvious. If you can think of something, you will make it exist with technology and time. Even if it's pretty far-fetched, it just takes a longer time to make it happen, right? Especially given the technologies that have been in this world that have created giant obelisks in South America and across Turkey and all around the world, Egypt, far beyond Egypt, lots of countries, even Scotland, and even here in Bulgaria, the Celtic place I went to in one of the videos about 4 or 5 videos ago, down in the south of Turkey, near Turkey and Greece, where I was the other week. You've got to check that stuff out. So I mean, people couldn't lift that sort of stuff back in those days. They didn't have vehicles, they didn't have animals that were strong enough to do that stuff. Even elephants in most cases weren't strong enough to lift a lot of these things that are even in this country and Greece and in Italy and all around this region, all around the world, the Easter Island. So anyway, that is where that simulation theory comes from. It's kind of like an obvious conclusion to draw in a world where you could conceive of virtual reality, and now we're getting to the stage where you're there, and we're getting these bodysuits that can make you feel like you've been hit. It's obvious, like movies with Gerald Butler was in, The Gamer, I think it was called The Gamers, or Gamers or something like that. That's going to be a reality at some stage in the future. It doesn't take a genius to work that out, but it does take a pretty forward-thinking person to come up with the concept years ago. As I say, back to Philip K. Dick, that guy was well before his time. You sometimes think maybe he was taken to the future and shown certain things that would, because he's, you could probably say the same with people like Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci, and other people throughout history, Galileo, whoever. So that's all I really want to speak about. It might be a quick video unless I ramble on, because every time I tend to say that, it doesn't end up being a quick video. But every time I cut off early, I think of something later on. So I'm just making sure that doesn't happen. So maybe I'll just ramble for a few seconds. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna show you some nice views here, because I'm nearing the town of Veliko Tarnovo, or as they spell it in Cyrillic alphabet. There's an old, just further back there that I missed because I was talking. There's an old a nunnery. There's a monastery this side. You see how it looks a little bit like the Grand Canyon? It's a cool little town. Anyway, if I wasn't here, like, why is that stick moving around? Why is that, I don't know, why is the piece of rubbish there? Why is that, of course, some things would be left over from the program. A lazy bastard came past here and dropped his packet of chips on the ground. Another lazy bastard came by and with a broom and didn't bother sweeping it up. Therefore, it's there. So even if you were in a simulated reality, you would still have those things, because the game overall, or the reality or the realm, would have memory, right? Just like the video games do. Not the older ones. You go on Doom years ago, and the body of the necromancer thing would disappear after you slaughtered it. Newer games, the body would still be there, or the body of a guy who you killed. So kind of the same theory, just because obviously when RAM is not an issue and memory is not an issue, you can afford to keep more information. It's not so wasteful when you have boundless computing power, which they might have. Look at this beautiful thing on this hillside here. All these tunnels. Now, this direction back here, I'm gonna open this, because you get these beautiful little houses back here. I'll show you now. See? Anyway, I'll turn it around the proper way so I can keep my hands on the steering wheel. But it's a beautiful town. If you ever get the chance, come here. It's got these really old Roman ruins and stuff. It's got an old fortress on the hill here. Gotta check it out. Veliko Tarnovo. Anyway, so if I was to think about how I would program a video game, well, of course I'd put all those things in it. I'd make it so that I wouldn't be able to tell if this was me pinching my skin or not. I'd put these random pains in my body. I'd maybe even give random people, just to keep up the illusion, I'd maybe give random people AIDS or whatever the hell it was, and that obviously wouldn't be fully random because it would be determined on an event that person chose to follow through with, which was sleep with someone, not wear a condom. Oh, okay, now a random event starts up. Will he get leprosy? Will he get AIDS? Will he get, I don't know, hepatitis C? There you go, another nice little view here. It's my brother's car I'm driving. He just bringing another new car back from Germany. He's had this car quite a few years, so it's falling to pieces. I'm leaving. Oh, here you go. Okay, this is the Boyarka distillery. That says Boyarka in Cyrillic, I can assure you. So, unless you didn't see it, didn't have the camera at the right angle. Boyarska. Okay, some drivers here, right. Yeah, nothing much to show in this direction really. Well, of course there is for someone who doesn't know the area. Alright, so to get back to that point, that's how I would do it. I'd make it so it was believable and that you wouldn't be able to tell that you're inside it, which is of course where the Matrix idea comes from. And it's not only the Matrix, it's other ideas similar to that. I think the Matrix was the first actually. I need to look into that, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the first. Well, I know for a fact that even some of these Red Dwarf episodes that have been butchered later on and turned into Star Trek episodes, I don't know if they actually sold their scripts to Star Trek, because so many of them are just the same. It's just recycled. They take the humour out, and it's the same story as Red Dwarf. So yeah, that's exactly what I do. That hopefully that explains a little bit of, it makes a simulation theory seem a little bit more plausible to those who are naysayers. As I say, I'm not a yay-sayer or a naysayer with any of these things, because none of us know, and you're an arrogant ignoramus if you really believe that you have all the answers. Yeah, it's amazing. She was matching my speed the whole way, wouldn't let me turn in. But the second I try to turn in, then she slows down, and then coming up the lights, and then she left 2 car spaces in front of her, so I can't get in. Just these drivers here are the shittest. Actually, they're not the shittest. I've driven all over the USA. I know bad. And Egypt, they're something else out there. Let me think. Anything else I can say about simulation theory? I don't think so. Computing power. Who would do it? Well, that could be anything. It could be that we fucked up our reality so much. Here's actually one idea I had as an extension to the simulation theory. Is we could have made such an absolute hash of things in the past, and if you look at it, look at us, look at the human race, how we do things. We are complete fuck-ups as far as this race. We do amazing things, but amazing based upon whose measure. You know, we tell ourselves we're special. Yeah, but we wouldn't, like, for example, we tell ourselves that, oh, it couldn't just be it. It wouldn't be life that is so profoundly amazing, and we wouldn't learn all these things just to throw it away in the end. Well, who knows? Who's to say that our whole life is special? Who's to say that 50 years or 60 years or 80 or 100 years of life is a long time? Because we know that in comparison to the age of the universe or the age of Earth, for what we are led to believe, because we don't know that's true either. It's all speculation, all theory. I mean, look at the stuff with Go Begly Tippy, about challenging the length of time. The guy's name is Stock, I think his last name is Robert Stock. The stuff that he was saying in Joe Rogan Experience, look it up, really good stuff. Same as the other guy who did the ayahuasca videos. I can't remember his name, not Sheldrake. Anyway, there's a lot that we don't know, and there's a lot that it's not just the fact that we don't know stuff. There's a lot that we think we know, or thought we knew, that we didn't actually have a fucking clue about. So maybe you just die at the end of this, and this is why it's so important to assume this is all we have. because as profoundly amazing as we all seem, or the civilization seems, we know we're a lot less than there has been before. Our lives may just be a byproduct of life wanting to continue, as I said in my previous video about you know, what if we've only been, what if all this had happened before, like they say in Battlestar Galactica, what if this happened before and it'll happen again, and it may only hasn't have enough times to happen, so many times to happen before we have no more chances, and then we're stuck here for all we know. We were the cradle of life, the only life that ever existed, and we had the chance to spawn the universe, but now it's gone. But there might be some other types of life out there, like some non-physical entities that float around and manage to breed. We don't know, and we'll continue not to know if we allow religions and corporate hegemonies and tyrants to hold us back as a civilization. If we continue to be weak and never, the law says it's bad, we need to abolish laws. This is why it kind of annoyed me when our guest, someone Ing, he's a gay Chinese guy who they called, I think he's Chinese or Korean, they've called what's it called? They've called him a right-wing white power, you know, just the idiots that are in these Antifa things, you know. And not just Antifa, the right-wing idiots as well. Idiots from all corners. So, his guest, he was saying this thing that a lot of propagandists say: anarchy, chaos. It's not the same thing. It's completely different. As a matter of fact, it's diametrically opposed. Anarchy is anarchy. It's actually where you either organize your own life in your own way, or you organize with other people who are anarchists as well. It's libertarian 5.0, you know what I mean? It's well beyond it, although it's the oldest and longest successful ideology there's ever been in this world. We know of many cultures that were in America, especially in the Americas, that were anarchistic, and you know, it's gone thousands of years living that way. So, you know, here we are with our so-called democracy. No country has ever really achieved democracy ever, and they'll fight you all tooth and nail if you ever try to achieve it. So we've got to assume this is the only reality we've got, whether it's physical, whether it's not. And the reasons for it could be that we were such catastrophic fuck-ups that we had no chance to do things in this world in the real world that we've ruined. Let's say this is modeled in the real world. We'd have to assume that, or else why create it this way? You know, why not create it some other way? So we have to assume that, and by assuming that, well, if it was a simulation theory, why would there be that way? And one of the things are, just like they show in the Matrix or Terminator 2, it's such an absolute mess that we can't survive in it anymore, or that we need to try work out what will work. So we're going to simulate things to give us enough chances to do things again and again and again. Take, for example, with ayahuasca or DMT. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had this before. It compresses time, right? That's the only way I can describe it. It actually makes something that is only a short space of a couple of hours or 45 minutes, or you know, even shorter, feel like it's lasted. Same as dreams do. Make it feel like it's lasted much longer. Now, that could be what we're going through right now. Actually, the movie that it was about dreams. It was Leonardo DiCaprio was in it, and there was a different depths of dreams. If you imagine that you could have a dream inside a dream inside a dream, or a reality inside a reality inside a reality, you know, computing power is so great. Imagine the computing power is so great in one reality that you can tap into that computing power and actually create. So if anyone is in IT and you understand how VMware works, creating a virtual machine inside a virtual machine inside a virtual machine, same kind of theory. I mean, we already have this. That's the crazy thing. What if the computers that we have are all theoretically impossible in some ways, and the only thing that makes them possible is this reality that we're inside that allows computing to exist, which is the CEO of D-Wave Computing came on. You've actually got to find, oh god, I'm not going to say I'm going to link it because I never do at the end of these videos, because I'd have to watch through my own video, and I don't do that. But he was on about the fact that these things run at fuck off that run at 0 degree Kelvin. So I'm just giving this gypsy a fuck off, because they just keep on going if you tell them to if you speak to them, engage in any way, they just keep on going. So I'm not really a mean person. It's just that, you know, when you're in places like Thailand, you can't engage in eye. You can same as here with the gypsies, you can't engage them in the eye. So D-Wave, that's right. So he was on about the fact that with the way that qubits work with these things that run at 1 degree Kelvin or 0 degree Kelvin, I don't, it's minus, what was it, 370, whatever it is, degrees Celsius, it's bloody absolute zero. That's what it was, I think. These things run at such cold temperatures, and that's to assist the way that the quantum computing chips run. And they use a thing called qubits, which is effectively shadowing. So a bit can be 1, 0 and 1 and 0 at the same time, but it can also have many values. So and the way they increase the computing power is they effectively, what I think of what he was saying was, they access more dimensions. So on Salvia Divinorum once, which is a Diviner's Sage, I fell through the floor in this guy's apartment. Actually, a guy and his sister, Jemima and Sam, they own this club called Seamoog in Byron Bay. I don't know if it's still there. So I fell through the floor, and then I hit it a number of times. It was like doom, 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 doom. And I had the instant realization I was in the wrong dimension, and I had to get back to my one. And each layer was only this thick. It looked like a television set, how they go shh to the old TV, but it was black instead of white, the colours inverted. But I could look through each one, and it was a full room. You know, I could see everyone in the room, but it was different people in some of the rooms. Some of them were still there, some of them were different. And I had this instant realization that for all I know, I don't exist in this reality. God, I better get back to where I'm from, you know? And when I got back to where I was from, finally, and the floor closed up, I left 2 of my fingers behind. These things stung like hell for 2 or 3 weeks. And well, it didn't sting the whole time. It started to become tingly later on, about a week and a half in, it started to get tingly. But yeah, I remember that. And I remember telling my mum the story about how crazy it was. This is back in 2003. Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. It's yeah, I've had a lot of crazy experiences like that. Okay, you can say that's drug induced, wow. But some of the things I've had, like a singularity that I experienced a year and a half ago over in Denver, that was weird. I could hear thoughts to the state where I grabbed a guy's hand who tried to pickpocket me. There's a lot of kind of gangster kind of people. It was a kind of industrial rave I was at, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of industrial area in Denver, and a lot of kind of dodgy sorts around there. I had a gun in my back pocket as well, so I was quite conscious that someone might steal a gun. I know, yeah, Craig, you're crazy, you got a gun on you, but I know I can trust myself, and if I don't, well, crazier things happen in this world, man. I might get killed by not having one and being on something. So, you know, keep your opinions to yourself. I don't really care. Anyway, the getting back to, we only have one, we possibly only have this one life, because none of us know the answer. Even those of us who believe that we've been visited by God or whatever it might be, we really don't know the answer. I mean, that could be the devil speaking to you, for example, and then you still only have one life. You're done, right? So my point is, this may be your only life. Make it as good as you possibly can. So that's working strategically as well. That is making sure that you stay the hell out of jail. Now, I know that obviously the kind of risks I've taken in life would suggest that I didn't always think this way, and I didn't. You know, it is a more recent thought, maybe within the last, probably only about 8 years really, that I've been thinking that way. Yeah, I've had other thoughts of simulation before that, but I haven't really thought of it in that way, or articulated in that way before, but I have been for a few years. So it is important in this life, because it is all you have. And for all we know, if you believe in solipsism, we are all, us ourselves is everything. We are effectively God, if you like. Everything else out here is a simulation of your mind. And that becomes believable if anyone has ever gone down the path of, what's it called when you wake up in your dreams? There's these things that can basically set off LEDs when you get REM sleep. And you can actually wake up in your dream. So I'd learned years ago, and I've kind of unlearned, I'd like to get back into it again, lucid dreaming, where you can have complete control. So it's amazing the stuff you can do. You can just instantly build whopping castle and stuff, and it's got the most intricate details, and it's within milliseconds your brain can do this stuff. So if you can understand the power that your brain has inside it, it could just be a representation of something that actually it's not really there. Your brain could be a conduit into a collective consciousness, or the brain could be some kind of supercomputer that we all carry around with us, and you could be carrying around your own universe, your own world. We don't know any of these things. Are all theories, right? And that is why it's really arrogant to think that you have something after this, so that you know, Allah Akbar, give up your life, you know, suicide bomber, or one of these idiots who, you know, believes all about honor, and then you go and you're a kamikaze pilot, whatever it might be. If you give up your life so easily, well, maybe it wasn't worth that much in the first place. I couldn't imagine myself giving up for anyone in this world except for people who I love against tyranny and evil. And that's the only way it would happen, really. I'm not going to sit there and make a martyr myself for some stupid cause. I'll live to fight another day. I'll live to experience another day. And I suggest that you all do as well. But I also suggest you reach out and try and find other people in the world who think like you, because there's no point sitting there trying to convince the people who are the walking dead, you know, the zombie. My friend Ahmet, that's the one thing he says, I call them dead people, he says. When we were driving in London just recently, he's like, look at this stupid bitch, look, a dead person, another dead person here. It's a crack up, because it's kind of how I think. I used to call people cattle like that as well. I don't know, that may seem very high and mighty from me, but no, if you want to act a certain way, you want to act like you're a programmed robot, then yeah, I'll call you that. I don't mind. You can have a discussion with me. You can prove me wrong. As what's his name, that guy on YouTube, Crowder, as he says, I think this way, prove me wrong, or convince me. Yeah, convince me. I had some dipshit on one of my channels. No, it wasn't. It was actually a comment that I did on a video called learning how to live free of taxes or something like that. And this guy, I just said, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I've set myself free. I'm trying to show other people how to be free, not just how to wake them up in this system. But that's just one thing. Waking up and knowing that you're around something that's completely rigged, whether it's physical and real, like most of us believe it is, or whether it's a simulation, or whether it's flat Earth theory and you're living in a realm, wherever it may be. It doesn't make a lick of difference if you wake up to it and don't actually say, well, what's my purpose in this? I mean, did I create myself? If I did, I'm doing a pretty bad job at making my life perfect. So whether it's simulation theory or anything else, have the best life you can, make it good, and make it count. You know, if our raison d'etre is to wake up, then wake up in the best, most possible way. Wake up others. If it's to make everything be possible, maybe your reason is to be the best evil person you can be. Well, I wish you no success in your endeavors, right? But if it's to be the best person you can be and spread happiness, joy, love, all these sort of things, go out and do that. Don't be some lazy slug. Don't think that because you can't find a job for a while that sums you up, and you know these assholes have defined who you are as a person. I went a long time without finding work. I started creating work for myself. I also dealt drugs for years. I don't give a shit. I don't feel guilty. Did I kill anyone? No, I didn't. You can't die from weed. It's very hard to even die from cocaine, but dying from pills, I would always test them myself first. Ecstasy, real ecstasy, not the crap that comes later on because the government makes it so hard for you to get. The horrible people and drug dealers who want to make more money start substituting things with other drugs, and therefore getting you hooked. You know, substituting MDMA with heroin, or substituting MDEA with crack or speed, or substituting MDA. These are the three components of ecstasy, by the way, real ecstasy, which is not harmful, because the Merck Corporation who invented it, it was a pharmaceutical drug. It was made for marriage counseling and stuff, you know. Of course, they make it. It was actually invented before LSD by Dr. Hoffman invented LSD. So yeah, I mean, it's a tried and tested drug, and you bounce back from it. There are downsides to it. There's side effects that like marijuana go away in time. I know, because I'm living proof they've gone away. I'm back to normal again now. Actually, a lot of these things have probably expanded my thinking. I started doing acid very young, which is probably what led me to being very early red-pilled. I would say I was red-pilled in my teens, to the state that most people would consider themselves red-pilled nowadays. But I wouldn't consider myself fully woke red-piller. was areas like, so for example, from the woman aspect, you know, chasing around, being a bit of a still an alpha, I'd say, the whole time, because I was really good at sports and school and stuff, and no one ever bullied me. I was more of a bully's bully. I'd always bully bullies when I was younger. Something I took great joy in, because I wanted to get frustration out, but I couldn't bring myself to hurt someone who didn't deserve it. But there was so many assholes around, and it's just like, you got your pick, you know what I mean? So it's something I used to do when I was younger, and got some of my friends into doing as well, because I noticed they were into beating up people, because, you know, we were just young and angry, you know what I mean? We had no work, we had nothing great coming to us, on the benefits and stuff like that, which teaches you to be a slug and kind of rewards. That's why I'm kind of against socialism now. It doesn't make you try harder. It does suck though when there's no what's the word? There's no opportunity around you. You do really learn that you can make it yourself. You need to realize that if we were once living in caves, then we survived pretty well without having all this bullshit around us, even cars. I convinced a friend of mine, Sebastian, to, you know, yeah, fine, you haven't got as much money as me, but you can still make a bike. He did, and he went all the way to, I've said this other videos before, went all the way to Slovakia snowboarding. I got, you know, I planted that seed in his mind. Snowboarding, great thing to do. Flying, great thing to do. Being out in the ocean, great thing to do. All these things are fantastic. Treat yourself better, you know. Experience life. Let others know how good it felt. They'll experience life as well. Because I believe that overall, if you take all approaching 8 billion of us, there probably is, but lots of people that aren't counted, like people in dungeons, for example, and lots of places around the world, in prisons that we don't even know about. There will be plenty of them. There's a collective positive and negative energy, and what I believe is that we have a collective negative energy. I think it's been, a lot of people are being woken up by the internet, so maybe we're getting a lot of positivity that's coming around now. It takes belief in yourself to hope. Hope defines happiness. Hope is the fundamental definition of happiness, right? Just think about it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I just wanted to explain what the simulation theory was. Hopefully I've done it well. Ask any questions, you got it down below. I don't have all the answers, but I'm sure as shit have more than the average person does. So like, subscribe, share. I don't really care about these things. It's just, actually, you know what, don't even like it. Just share it. Just share. Liking doesn't make a lick of difference. My channel's blocked anyway. My last channel is completely gone. So, I mean, what would make me... The fact that I've gone up to 2,000 subs and I'm down to 200 now, or on Twitter, I was up at 20,000. I've been on Twitter since 2009, almost since it started. I think it might have been just the year before it started. And I've gone from, you know, I've gone all the way up and all the way down. And the other day, it was a laugh. I was on 560 something. And when I went back and refreshed the page, just then I went from 400 follows. Because I'm slowly creeping up in the follows. I don't really follow people that often, but I find channels I like and I follow them. And or about Scottish independence, another one I tend to follow if someone's really witty and stuff like that. So I thought, oh shit, I'm within 100 of followers. I can't believe that. The ratio was so much more before, and now I've got down to that. And then I noticed, oh shit, look, I've gone up to almost 500 followings, and yet I'm down to 489. It will be lower today, I can guarantee you. It's been going down. There was big jumps a while ago. They said they were getting rid of fake accounts. Yeah, fake accounts that gave really good conversations. You know, it's just pathetic, man. It really is pathetic. Twitter is the most pathetic platform of them all, and yet people think that Facebook is bad for censorship. I give it that. Facebook is bad for social engineering, but nothing is bad for toxicity as is Twitter. That's why you got to move to minds.com if you're on Twitter. You got to move to BitTube, which is called now bittubers.com, but BitTube is where my old channel is. So a lot of times when I talk about commenters, I'm talking about there. I might be talking, it might be on YouTube. I can't remember where I see comments sometimes. BitTube, I'm going to start doing more on that. Unfortunately, it's a pain in the ass to use in comparison to BitTube, but a lot more people tend to be on it from the sort of people who would maybe be receptive to this kind of material. So I'm going to start uploading more to BitTube. It's such a pain in the ass, man. I don't have the time. I can't be bothered. I'll do the occasional video on BitTube, put it that way. And maybe I'll do this one on there. Anyway, take care.